Hey, supers. Welcome back to another Shark Tank Tales episode. We have a great guest with us today that was on season 12, episode 25, the last episode from season 12. So we actually could ask some, questions about the COVID life because that was part of her Shark Tank experience. So wherever you are right now, whatever you're doing, I need you to stop and give some super claps for Super Destiny Paget. How you doing, Destiny?
I'm good. I'm good.
You're good. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I'm so glad that we were able to finally connect and get the. I mean, this is. I think you messaged or wrote on a comment like a long time ago on the video, and then didn't hear from you until 3 months ago.
Yeah. I'm not on YouTube. I made it a goal this year to get on YouTube, but I haven't followed through on that goal. But one day I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that dude. I'm going to go see if he ever replied.
Well, thank you. I did because I was, it's always exciting to have the Shark Tank entrepreneurs, reach out and come on the show, which is just it's just awesome. I mean, I used to have to like go out and search for guests and like hey, come on the show, and they'd be like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going back like 7 years ago now, and now people just come to me, and I'm like, hey, this is great. Hey, like, this makes life so much easier,
Yeah,
Uh,
that's cool.
so, Destiny, let's start out as we always do, talking about what was your relationship with Shark Tank prior to getting to that, prior to knowing that you would get to potentially even have the opportunity to go on the show.
My relationship.
Like, what were you a fan watching it, not watching it, never
Oh,
heard of
yeah.
it?
No, I mean, I was raised on it. I would say I definitely watched like the first 6 seasons. And then right about that time is when I moved to Utah and I was a poor college kid, so I didn't have TV anymore. But I mean, not college, but you know what I mean. I was just a poor kid. And so I didn't really watch it. I watched it maybe the season right before my season, and some of my season. I definitely watched my episode, and I watched my friend Laren's episode, and
Oh,
I haven't
I
watched
love her.
it.
She came on here as well and gave an interview not long after her episode aired, and yeah, so it's always great to see the relationships that get built, from Shark Tank outside of the bubble.
It's totally crazy. We're actually having like a Shark Tank reunion this month where we're all meeting up and hanging out.
I heard about that. I've heard about it from a couple different people. So that is awesome. Wish I could have been there. But so okay, so you grew up on Shark Tank. When it came time for you to want to be on Shark Tank, did you apply, or did they happen to find you and reach out to you?
It was actually both. I had applied, and then one day I got an email and it said Shark Tank season 12. I opened it and it said, "Hey, we saw your stuff. Would you be interested? If so, let's schedule a call." And I was like, "What? Like, I don't. Is this spam?" But I replied. I was like, "Yeah." And then they called, and I was like, "Are you messing with me? Like, what's happening? Did y'all get my application?" And they're like, "Oh, to be honest, like we get so many online applications that." We can't go through all of them. And I was like, yeah. So then how did you find me? She was like, oh, we saw your Instagram ad. I was like, yeah, because I was targeting them.
Were you specifically are you just joking, or
No,
did you
I
specifically?
specifically targeted Shark Tank, Sony Productions, employees of Shark Tank, ABC, all of them.
I love it. I love it. That that there's always there's a story about, and I'm not a huge Gary Vee fan, but there's a story about a guy who wanted to get hired by him. And back in the Facebook days of being able to like hyper target down to like the person basically, they did that by targeting just Gary, and ads directed just talking to him.
Smart man. I should do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, you did it. You did it in a time where the privacy of these apps, have shifted and changed. So, I love the tenacity to kind of force fate's hand, if you will.
I just call it manifesting.
So, no, it's more than that, because manifesting would be like you just talking about it, right? And you're talking it into existence. You actually paid money into an ad to specifically go after these people, which I think is both funny and so admirable, and such a great lesson for entrepreneurs who are, like, especially if you're strapped for cash in your business, like the hyper target, right? Like I always talk about, go get my avatar guide, right? joepardo.com/avatar, and like answer those 64 questions, and then you'll know exactly who you're targeting, and you'll have answers to the questions like Destiny did here, to know exactly who she's reaching, looking to reach, and then accomplishing it.
Yeah. So if you see my ads pop up in your feed, I was targeting you.
So, all right. So once you got the ball rolling on that, how did you balance running a bubbling business, right? You had a young child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And life, as well as getting your pitch and all the hundreds of hoops that you have to jump through to be able to go on Shark Tank.
Oh man, I mean, it was wild. So during that time, I have 2 kids, and my husband worked offshore on an oil rig, so I was basically a single mom every other month. But during the time he's gone, and when the kids are at school or daycare, like I could actually like put work in those specific hours and then be a mom after. But I mean, it's a stressful journey to get from that email to not just pitching, but on the TV. And
I
smoked a lot of weed.
Bet. Oh. Well, look, control, I think, is the important part in doing whatever you're using. It doesn't matter if we're talking about legally or illegally. It's the control, right?
Agreed.
I was just talking to my wife, I think it was last night, where she was like talking like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's like 8:00 and it's been a long day or whatever. And I was like, you're still, I don't drink coffee, but she does. And I was like, do you still drink coffee? She, yeah, I just had like 1 cup in the morning, so I don't want to stay up all night. I said, well, why don't you like drink less coffee? Because you only get 3 options, right? Drink the same amount and get the same results. Drink more, which is really not that great for you to begin with. Increasing anything is not great. Or you could cut it back like I do and only take caffeine in when I absolutely need it, because like I got that thing I have to do, and there's just not enough energy in Joe to be able to get it done.
Yeah, that's impressive. I am very impressed.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I think like I said, it's a drug. So, your body gets used to it. So you slow it down for 5 days, and then it'll work again. It's
yeah.
You get on that caffeine spark that you need. So, sorry, going into going into the show, you had a different time than like everybody else prior to season 12 had, right? What were some of the challenges that you had to face with that, given that you had to quarantine? Was it for 5 days, 7 days, 10 days? I forget what exactly it was, but I know you had to quarantine in a hotel room, and having 2 young kids, how was that for you?
I actually loved it. It was a nice break. I would do it again any day. It was very wild though. Like we had to do 3 COVID tests, 1 before we left, 1 as soon as we got there, and then 1 before we pitched. And they said if you fail a single one, you're done. You don't even get to pitch. We weren't allowed to talk to any of the other entrepreneurs. At night, me and the people across the hallway, it was Fur Zapper and Cheese Chopper. We just opened our doors and talked across the hallway. And one of the dudes came up and they were like, "Oh, we can all hear you. We would just prefer you go in each other's rooms and talk." And I'm like, "Nuh-uh, like, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting in trouble. And two, like, these are two dudes. I'm not going in a dude's room. Like, no, we're just going to keep talking across the hall." And so that's what we did. And downstairs, there was all these protocols. We had to wear a mask up until the second we pitched. And then, like, we couldn't high five. They were like, "Don't air high five. Don't do it." So I didn't do it. Yeah, they were like, "We don't want anybody to know after the fact that this was during COVID." But people couldn't do it.
Yeah, but I think it's still pretty obvious. Like, maybe that attitude changed once they started looking at how they were cutting the film and the fact that nobody was going up and hugging each other afterwards. When you have 11 seasons or like prior a history of that, so
right.
Yeah, that's weird.
This upcoming season is going to be live, like streamed live. Like, I wonder if they're going to have the same protocols or not, or if we're going to get to see all the awkwardness like firsthand.
I don't know. I don't know too much about what's about to happen here on Friday. By the time we air this recording, that will have already happened. But I believe it's just the premiere is live. But I don't think it's actually like it's not live because obviously, like, you know, the entrepreneurs are on the carpet for 45 minutes, an hour and a half. Like, was this going to be like 6 hour Shark Tank or something? I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it was filmed in front of a live studio audience, but they're calling it Shark Tank Live, even though it's not actually. I imagine it's not live, unless they're just going to cut each of those entrepreneurs short. But I don't know. I really don't know what to expect. I know one of my friends had reached out because they're good friends with somebody that's about to be on the show that's going to be on the premiere. And I haven't had a chance to connect with that person just yet. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
We'll find out
I didn't
in like 2 days.
That way. Yeah.
It's TV. It's the illusion of live, sort of, because it is live in front of a studio on it. I don't know, but So that is strange, and it is strange. Is that somebody that actually worked for Shark Tank that was watching the hall, or like a hotel person, like management?
No, not a hotel person. I don't. They worked for Shark Tank.
That's a weird thing to. Maybe, I mean, look, sometimes we say things and we don't think about the gravity in which we're saying them to and to who we're saying them to in the moment. Bad judgment call on that.
Yeah. No thanks.
Plus the risk, right? Not just that risk, but like the risk of you being able to even go on the show too, as well as, you know, the other risks that come with the situation you were potentially putting yourself in. So anyway, so all right, and I totally resonate with the whole. It was awesome. I would totally do it again. I know when I had my gallbladder taken out, my daughter was not even 1 years old yet, and the 3 days that I spent in the hospital, nobody came to visit. I didn't want anybody to come to visit. Like, it was so nice, quiet. You know, and it was a nice break for an emergency gallbladder removal. But yeah, I love the fact that you've been able to take something that is so innocuous and that people give away, like, and then turn it into a business. And not only a business, because like I could buy a bunch of koozies and start a business tomorrow, right? With or without having a printer to print on them for logos and that kind of stuff. But you did it and then put your spin on it and turned it into something that like isn't just a little business for just you, but for I assume you have other employees now at this point.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So before all that though, walking down the hallway onto the Shark Tank, how are you feeling in that moment?
Oh man, I was so nervous. Like I I was trying to like contain my nerves, but I'm still just like jumping around, dancing, like not dancing, but I'm kind of freaking out internally. And it like I was so nervous. They tell you like go in as soon as you get to the rug. It's like this size of a step. I took this size of a step, and they were like, Destiny, you overstepped, step back, and I was like, okay. And then you're supposed to stand there for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it took a minute, and finally they were like, Destiny, you got to stop smiling. Like, we can't start until you stop smiling. I was like, I can't. And so it was very hard to do that.
It is, right? They got to get all that B-roll and stuff to, to be able to use, because they're not going to reshoot it. It happens in real time. So, getting those shots of you standing, panning, and all those things. It's just part of how TV's made, and it doesn't make it fake. In fact, Shark Tank, in my opinion, is probably the realest reality TV show that we have going for us. Okay, all right, well, all right. All right, so you get started with your pitch. I mean, at one point, Kevin, even though he did have an offer for you, right? Was it 25%? Was it 22? Oh, I'm sorry, 200,000 for 20%. He did call it a piece of crap.
Yeah.
To put it nicely. Was that hard for you to hear?
Nah. No. Everybody has opinions. I don't care. It's like, obviously it's something or I wouldn't be standing in front of you right now. That's kind of the mentality I had going into it. Like, and also, like, I guess ever since I was little, I had the ability to just like not care. And so he could be mean and I'd just be like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm still do me. Yeah. And then he made me an offer.
That I actually went back and rewatched the episode today in preparation for this because it had, obviously it's been a little while since it aired, and when I did it, I know, I did that episode with Larry, which was a lot of fun, and I know a lot of fans of this channel miss Larry, and I miss Larry too, but stuff happens and time passes and all that. But I think what was, really interesting there was, I mean, not only did he give you an offer, which, I think in the grand scheme of things is pretty amazing. Number one, and he would say it's weird because they don't usually contradict themselves like that, and especially in such quick succession. But he did. You got two offers, and one of them was from Damon. Now, when you were going into the tank, did you have someone in mind that you wanted to work with, and why?
I did. I went in thinking I would either go with Mark or Damon. I've followed Damon for a long time. I kind of felt like our personalities, like we would just vibe together really well. And I felt the same way about Mark Cuban. And like, I feel like he's just a cool dude. He's doing some cool stuff. He makes a difference. And I want to make a difference. So like, it would just be cool to be like in the same room with the dude, really. But I had a feeling Mark wouldn't be interested because he had already invested in a company kind of like this before. So like going in, I assumed it would be Damon because I knew Mark probably wouldn't. But that's what I wanted, and I'm glad I got it.
That doesn't always happen that way, right? We don't always get exactly what we were looking for, but from people that we were looking to work with. Now, they did wind up cutting your valuation in half. How did you go about figuring out what you wanted as far as your valuation goes?
In
your initial offer.
I just took what it was worth and times it by whatever I was supposed to do. The net profits, I don't know, the things you're supposed to do. I actually, my parents, they're very helpful with stuff, and they help me along the way too. They take care of my books for me, and they helped me. They made sure I knew all my numbers, and yeah, they're cool people.
Clearly, I mean, they have a great, cool daughter, so it doesn't happen by accident. So when it comes to when it comes to that, getting an offer that cut your valuation in half, you didn't seem to think that was too big of a problem.
Um, no, I mean, I knew they were going to do it anyways. It's Shark Tank. Like everything I'd seen before, like, duh, of course they're going to do that. You never get what you want going in unless you're like crazy lucky and have something really, really good. So no, I wasn't surprised by it. And I knew too that there's still wiggle room after the show, because during all the due diligence process, it takes so long that valuations can change. So I always knew in the end I could still counter offer even after the show. So
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the missing keys for some of the entrepreneurs that are on the show is, they miss the big picture that you're going to get an episode that airs at least once, right? That shows that you got a deal, which sticks in people's minds. And then replayability forever and always, like thank courtesy of like CNBC.
right? Like I didn't even care if I didn't get a deal. Like just being on the show enough is like enough to be grateful for. So
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And as you put it, like there is wiggle room because of the fact that there's the whole due diligence process, and it can go both ways, right? I've heard I've been privy to some stories that are kind of heartbreaking, but I think that having the opportunity to have an episode that airs that does end up in a deal, I think can really make long term difference. Because I was just talking to the Chill and Reel people like last week, and they have people, they're at all these shows, these state fairs and stuff like that, and people always go like, oh, you got a deal on Shark Tank, didn't you? And they were like, well, no, we got an offer, but we didn't actually get a deal. So it's like it almost seems like I don't know if it doesn't matter, but it's the things that people want to take away is in their mind.
No, I don't think it matters. And in fact, like I almost think it would be better to say no so you could get like that little sympathy order.
Oh, yeah, their business is going right to zero. Maybe I should click that buy button just to help them out, help a struggling entrepreneur out there, because they didn't take the billionaires' money or the multi-millionaires' money.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when I think that the deal actually is that terrible, like when it's that imbalanced, I think that it does make sense to say no. To show people, because and I'm sure this happened to you after the show. You probably had a slew of people wanting to invest, coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, there's a couple. Lots of crazies too. Really weird. We got lots of people mad that we had like Blue Lives Matter ones. We had people mad that I did a deal with a Black person. They were like, how dare you? I was like, whoa, what? People mad that my products are made in China. Like there was so much more hate emails than there were love and investment emails. So.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, obviously, you said that earlier you are capable of letting things roll off of you and not let it bother you. But did it get to you at all after
Oh yeah,
it's not just like one.
Like pissed off. Ooh, it was taking everything in me not to like release some videos, just dropping F-bombs and being like, I don't care about your opinion because you're not the person that's obviously going to support me and buy from me. But hey, shut the F up. But I didn't because I took the high road.
I always say that here, taking the high road. I get negative comments all the time in the comments, almost on a daily basis, and I just write back, I appreciate you watching and commenting, and
Yeah.
and that's it. Nothing I could say is going to further the conversation, and in some cases it turns people like, wow, you actually took the time to A, reply, and
Yeah.
B, made me feel really bad because I didn't think you'd actually read this.
Yeah. Like, why even comment it then?
You get that keyboard warrior license, and you just start running wild with it, and anonymity is a drug, to be able to say whatever you want, and in theory nobody knows who you are or what, where you're at, and
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm glad you took the high road on those. And yeah, I mean, not everybody gets to experience that. Not just the hate comments, but the hate from a lot of different angles.
Yeah.
Like people that are upset about one type of handler that you're making, and also people that should be in support of that also mad because not making them in America. It's tough. It's tough. So I'm glad that you were able to let that go, like just let it go and realize that, like, at the end of the day, you're still making money. You're working towards employing people and going bigger and better. And I mean, heck, your episode aired last, in the season. So, the amount of growth that you probably experienced between when you recorded in September and aired in May is probably quite a bit, I imagine.
It was a bit, and so definitely by that time, we hadn't closed the deal. That's when I was like, oh hey, by the way, since it's been 6 months, here's my new numbers, here's my counter offer, and I tried it.
Yeah, well, I forget. I was talking to another Shark Tank entrepreneur who they ran into. I don't want to give away who it was, but they've run into a similar thing where it's like they aired towards the end of the season, and the business has just exploded since then, and the deal still hadn't been closed, and I feel like that the Sharks don't necessarily take advantage of that enough. Because you get the Shark, especially once the episode airs, it's like you get the Shark Tank effect. So it's like you were already like in the rocket going up, and now all of a sudden it's just like another rocket comes along, hitches on, and you're just gone, right? And at that point it's like, wow, they had just gotten it together, they could have closed the deal and been a part and had upside to that without having to go back to the and renegotiate, because it's a totally different business than when it 6 months, 8 months, 9 months ago.
Yeah, agreed. I almost kind of felt like they did it on purpose just to kind of see like who was taking the bait. Like, did they get any big name brands? Is it really worth investing in at this point? If they can get all these people, if they can get them, they can get these. So I kind of looked at it that way. But yeah, it's crazy because it's a big gap between pitching, airing, and the deal actually closing.
I've heard that as well. That at least one entrepreneur, actually the first entrepreneur that ever reached out to me because of this channel, had an issue where the episode aired and there were some complications going on, so the Shark wasn't able to close the deal, and then they ultimately saw that things weren't like taking off like a rocket like they thought it would after the episode. This is really early on, like in the first 3 seasons. Didn't take off like they thought it would, and then they basically were like, yeah, I'm not interested anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, I think they do it for a reason.
I guess it also depends about how much money we're talking about and what percentage of, how sweet the deal is, and how,
yeah, that's true.
Anything over 200,000 to 300,000 is it's just the odds are just so low that anything will ever actually come. You'll even get an offer, let alone get a deal, let alone close that deal.
Yeah.
But they made great TV in the process, so
That's right.
So you get a deal with Damon. You're walking out. How are you feeling? And where are you heading right after that?
So right after, I was so excited. I was like, I didn't know what to do. They ask you questions, they bring you out in the hallway, and then they make you go see a psychiatrist, and then you have to pack up all your stuff that you used in your display and ship it home, and then it's time for you to go. You got to go.
What was some of the first things that you did once you returned home?
Just came home, just chilled. Because I still didn't know. Like, they still tell you, like, you don't know until we call and tell you that you aired. So I still knew there was a possibility that I still might not make the air. So I was trying to just like not think about it. Just think like, yeah, it was just a vacation. Just got to go talk to some people, hang out. I'm back now. When something comes out of it, then I'll freak out. And so we had a watch party when it aired, and they said, don't get drunk. And we did not listen.
So, all right. So on the, okay. So all of that, what about on the business side? What were some of the things you did once you got back to like bolster the business? Cause obviously if you do air on Shark Tank, you got to have some inventory, or you're going to be putting up a, come back soon, sign on your site pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I still kept doing our markets. Like, we would do wholesale market or apparel markets and gift markets in Atlanta and Texas. And so still doing that. We were still getting a lot of business. And in that process too, they gave me a 5-week notice. So that was nice. So as soon as I got the notice, I took out my Shopify capital and I used that to buy stock. And that's what paid for all the inventory.
Well, that's nice of them that they gave you 5 weeks, because usually it's 3 weeks, and the extra 2 weeks, especially because you're heading towards the end of the season. You're like, oh no, am I going to get it to air or not? And which can be quite frustrating, especially if you bought inventory ahead of time and are sitting on it and like, okay, like, we're selling it. It's not that you're not just waiting on the Shark Tank wave, but for the amount of money that we put out here, this could be a problem, for a little while.
Yeah. Thankful for that 5-week notice.
So you have your watch party. The sales ring it like well, because you didn't listen or follow their instructions. Did you, was the sales, were you able to check the sales that night? Was it bringing off the hook, or what was going on?
Oh, yeah. It was crazy. It was like maybe like the 7th best night of my life. It was crazy. Yeah. My brother, he lives in Utah. He was also watching my site, like on the admin side, watching all the viewers. He was going crazy. He was like, I've never seen this many people on a website before. I'm like, yeah, and just super excited. Hey, wait, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted because I was coughing. That's as special as to me at least, the party and all of that, because like that. I mean, everybody wants that to be every day, right? But like, we all know that the odds are not great that is going to be an everyday thing. So to me, like, I'd be screen recording it so that every time you feel like down, or you get one of these, BS emails from somebody that just has nothing better to do with their time than like write you an angry email about something that they shouldn't even care about. Like, it made you angry. Cool. Move on with your day. Right.
Yeah.
You can go back and watch that and be like, yeah, that was us.
Yeah.
In that moment, here's what it, the analytical side was doing. There's almost like a slot machine going off. Anyway, so since then, How's the business been going? What new things have you been up to? And if you can say, did your deal close with Damon at all, or what's
No,
what's
we
going
didn't
on
end
that
up
front?
closing it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
We
no,
did
go
end
ahead.
up closing it. We I mean, it's kind of strange because we never said no and we never said yeah. I sent the counter offer and I never heard back. So I just took that as a no. But it's still good. Like, we have Academy, we've done some custom ones, we've done some for White Claw a couple times, Cayman Jack, Trader Joe's, and Clayton Homes. Like, it's just cool to get to add all these brands to our portfolio. I don't know if it's because of Shark Tank.
Hey, if it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. You take it. You take the good with the bad, and then you get the facts of life. Did you wind up getting your patent?
So I was granted it in China and in Australia. My one in the US, it was denied. So we redid it where we made some changes and it's still pending now. So hopefully this one will get an updated version. Hopefully.
No, I got
Even if not, I'm gonna still do it. Like,
well, you are doing it, right? Like, without the patent. So I think that you are part of the brand, right? And part of the magic that makes it, people want to, in my opinion at least, want to go and get one of these things, right? Because koozies are a dime a dozen. You can go to any promotional site, company, get a regular koozie, but they can't get one from a person named Destiny that has a handle and just has a very particular vibe to it that you bring to the table. So I think that is while you aren't the brand per se, the brand is because of you.
Yeah.
Is that too deep? I don't.
No. In fact, like, that's kind of like the mentality that I've had all along, is like, they're not buying like this because of that. They're buying like a little piece of me. Yes. I know that sounds weird, but yeah, like, I don't know. You build experiences with people and keep doing good, and then good will keep coming to you. Things like
100%. That is exactly what I try to build not only my businesses around, but what we try to spread here. That's the whole super, right? Being super is not about being just awesome, but just, bringing the super out of other people and the best out of them and yourself in the process. And I think that you really definitely embody that. So I'm glad that you reached out and we were able to make this interview happen.
Me too. It was cool.
So before we wrap up here, let everyone know where they can get their lit handler and how they can find you online.
I mean, there's our website, lithandlers.com. We're on Amazon. We're on Etsy. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, @lithandlers. And I mean, you could just do a little Google search. It's there. Hopefully page 1, because I would be pissed if it's not.
Thank you again, Destiny, for taking the time to be here. I really do appreciate it. And you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. I'll come back anytime. If you want to have me again, just hit me up.
100%. I absolutely, yeah. We'll follow up in like a year or so.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you haven't seen Destiny's pitch, you can watch it up here. If not, I'll see you in the video down below. Also, Larry's in that pitch, so everybody loves Larry. Have a great day. Take care and go be super.